expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on
Welcome to yet another exciting edition of Weekend Sports Extraordinary here on Atlantic Television Network. What a weekend of sports, I must tell you here, because Cup final has been decided in the FA Cup in England, and Manchester United are winners across. And in basketball, Rivers Hoopers struggled in the seeding games. We would like to see what result that would be, and I can tell you as well that the CAF Champions League final is here this weekend. Details of this and many more coming in from the world of sports for you on this edition of Sports Extraordinary Weekend Edition here on Atlantic Television Network. We'll take a short break. When we return from the break, we'll serve you all of the details.
Still goes to What he'd love to be immortality as an athlete. 19.79. It's a goal.
Like this now.
I hope nobody got it. Hello.
Why you are? Let's go.
Because this road where they see, so you don't guarantee safe delivery.
We just vote for government. But we not get good governance. Roads so no day. Light to usai. The infrastructure it can't turn to be forbidden fruit for the people.
Corruption, well everything. Hello?
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
No.
My name is Mrs. Ayeni. I am calling from the Ministry of Humanity.
From loudspeaker.
No verse. Now my phone be like that. Hello?
Are you there?
I hear, I'm hearing you.
Yes. We saw a copy of your invoice for computers, printers, and laptops.
Yes. Are you working on them now?
weekend of sports. A lot ranging from athletics to basketball, football, and of course, I must say, cup final. If you want to talk about it in football, but first, nice to have you on this edition of Sports Extraordinary.
Thank you very much for having me, Siri. Very happy to be here at this weekend.
Talking about this weekend in athletics, Nigerian Athletics Federation of Nigeria has announced a new date and venue for the upcoming Olympics and African Championship trials. This is getting ready for Paris 2024.
Yes, it's been an impressive one. I think when you take a look at that preparation for the Paris Olympics, I think it's really been a top-notch preparation from what we've seen so far. We've seen so many athletes, securing the tickets. We've seen badminton players securing tickets. We've seen volleyball teams as well securing tickets, wrestling, weightlifting, even in athletics as well. We've seen, so many, athletes, securing tickets for the Olympic Games. Now, putting up these trials, at this point in time, I think for me, is a good one. For the athletes to come together, and to make sure they get themselves, much prepared. And of course, look forward to see how we can actually get the best, of course, down to the Paris Olympic game. For me, I think it's a good
Olympic game. The Senior Athletics Championship, we understand, will be coming up in Douala, Cameroon. Athletes who we understand who have already qualified for the Olympic Games will be part of this one. Same as the championship that is coming up in, I think, 16th of June at the Samuel Saibovo Stadium in Benin City. I think it's cheering because in the past we've seen situations where athletes who have already qualified do not take part in this championship. But this one now, we are having athletes who have qualified for the Olympic Games already built to be part of it as kind of a preparatory, championship or trial, so to say, for the athletes going to the Olympic Games.
For me, I think it's a welcome development. For me, it will further help them to get very much prepared ahead of the Olympic Games. And from what we've seen at this point in time, yes, their performance has been top notch when you take a look at what they've been able to do so far in securing the ticket. But participating in this one, I think will further give them that momentum, will further strengthen them. And as well, the Athletic Federation of Nigeria will be able to ascertain the strengths and the abilities of this athlete ahead of the Olympic Games. So for me, a lot of work to be done, and it's a good one, a good innovation that the athlete, of course, have been allowed to participate in this one before heading down to the Olympic Games. So there's much room for them to improve themselves and be able to prepare themselves mentally, emotionally as well before heading down to the Olympic Games.
Well, athletes going to the Olympic Games to be part of a regional or African championship. They're taking place in Douala, Cameroon. And of course, another one they're taking place at the Samuel Saibovo Stadium of Benin City, ahead of the Olympic Games, who comes up in just about 6 weeks or so from now. And I think this is a good directive coming from Athletics Federation of Nigeria, that all athletes who have already qualified for Olympic Games must be part of this senior championship, and of course the one taking place in Benin City. Let's stay away from athletics now and go to basketball. And talking about basketball, the Basketball League Africa is into the 4th season, and now attention has shifted from Pretoria, Cairo, Dakar. Now it is all eyes on Kigali, where the seeding playoff quarterfinal fixtures are taking place. All quarterfinalists are already in Kigali. 3 games or so being played in the seeding games. Of course, talking about games, Kingsley, you have to play games that will qualify you as top seeds, and of course classification games, so to say. First, second, 2 of these qualifications games being played. Fuse of Rabat of Morocco opponents. Kingsley, what do you make of Fuse of Rabat outstanding performance so far? They've now nicked the #1 ticket.
When you take a look at the prowess of Fuse of Rabat of Morocco, I think you give it to them, at this point in time, taking up that #1 seed. You take a look at the way they perform
against a top side like Al Ahly of Egypt. Al Ahly of Egypt, of course, everybody know them to be continental or regional. I say yes, continental champions in basketball. Al Ahly, but they beat Al Ahly by 98 to 89 points. Fuse of Rabat, winning that encounter.
Surprising for me, very, very surprising. When you take a look at the margin as well. When you talk about pedigree,
one would have expected that Al Ahly would be the #1 seed,
yes.
But it turned around that it was Fuse of Rabat. And for me, one on the Fuse of Rabat side, he's Malian, but he was able to put up a standing performance, 10 rebounds, aftermath of 20 points he scored in the match where his team beat Ahali by 98 to 89 points.
That's massive performance, putting up about 20 points in that one.
21 points.
21 points, 10 rebounds, of course. I think for me an impressive performance, you will say, for the man. And looking at the way the team, of course, they played, I think also the chemistry of the team, the synergy, the understanding they've gotten so far, right from the conference, expect Ahali to go ahead of for this particular one. But I think the guys from Morocco were able to put themselves in order, and Jara, of course, being the outstanding man down there in that particular one, was able, of course, to put up that difference. It's a good victory for them, and it's also a statement of intent for them, going forward in the competition.
Fuse of Rabat emerging as the #1 seed at this year's basketball league. There is into the quarterfinal and beating the #2 seed now, Ahali of Egypt, by 89 to 78 points. There was a second classification match or seeding game played in the last few hours. We saw Cape Town Oilers of South Africa, lose to Al Ahly of Benghazi, Libya. Kingsley, there are two Ahlis in this basketball league quarterfinal stage. We have Ahly of Egypt and Ahly of Benghazi, that's in Libya. And the team from South Africa, the Cape Town Tigers, lost to Ahly of Benghazi, 87 to 76 points.
It's pedigree-wise, you give it to Ahly Benghazi because they've done a lot, in this particular one. Cape Town Tigers, this is, I think, their second time in the Basketball African League. They've not really done badly. I saw what they did, of course, in their conference, but they had a little struggle. But being able to qualify down to the seeding stage of the going to that one, and that's why they were able, of course, to take up the victory.
Classification game, we saw the 7 and the 8 team emerge. Right now, from Benghazi is the #8 team. Then the team from South Africa is the number 8 team. Then Benghazi is #7 team. So in the next few hours from now, I think another 24 hours or so, we will see the first quarterfinal fixture, between Fuse of Morocco in what looks like a very staunch tie. Kingsley, I don't know whether you expected this one to be Fuse of Rabat, #1 team, to sit up against #8 seed Cape Town Tigers of South Africa. Then we have the #7 and #7 seed up against the 6th seed, Ahly of Benghazi to take on Ahly of...
Very tight encounter. I think Ahly will not want to let this one go. They lost to Fuse of Rabat. This time around, facing Benghazi, Ahly Benghazi will be another tight encounter at this point in time. Both teams, of course, did well in their first seeding game. No, Ahly, of course, they lost.
No, it's something interesting about this pairing. If you look at the pairing at the quarterfinal, Fuse of Rabat versus Cape Town, they were in the same conference, and Fuse of Rabat beat them twice. The same thing has happened now in the other pairing between quarterfinal pairing between Ahly of Egypt and Ahly of Benghazi. Both of them were in the same conference as well in Cairo, and Ahly of Egypt beat Ahly of Benghazi twice.
Yes,
so
yes,
these first two pairings at the quarterfinal stage between the first and this, and the last seed, and of course the 7th seed, against their own opponent, definitely right now will be like what we have seen at the earlier conferences where they came from, at the Sahara Conference, and of course the match that took place in South Africa.
It's going to be a very tight one because both teams, they've tested themselves in the competition, and at this point in time, they're going to come out, all out. Ahly Benghazi will be coming out all out. Ahly of Egypt as well will be coming all out. Looking at the fact that they've played themselves, in the conference, and they've understood themselves as well. So I think for me, a little bit of tactics or strategy met themselves, before. So I think a little bit of strategy will actually make the difference in this particular one.
Weekend of basketball action at the quarterfinal stage of the Basketball League in Africa it is really getting very interesting. What we've saw before at the conferences is now going to reignite itself at the quarter-final stage of the competition, and it's looking interesting. Number 1 seed, we told you, is Fuse of Rabat up against the number 8 seed, which is Cape Town Tigers of South Africa. Number 2 seed, Ahali of Egypt, up against number 7 seed, Ahali Benghazi. All of these matches are taking place at the Kigali Arena in Rwanda. Interestingly, we saw a large turnout, especially in the second game involving Ahali, of Egypt. Kingsley, the crowd was massive, over 15,000 inside there, and one of them was very prominent. The president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, was in the stand there, in spite of the fact that there is no home team at the quarterfinal stage of this year's basketball league. For the first time, no home side. The team from Rwanda, APR, did not qualify for the quarterfinal stage, but yet the turnout of spectators watching the quarterfinal, was massive, including the number 1 citizen of Rwanda.
For me, I think there'll be massive publicity down there in Rwanda for this particular one. Taking a look at further, the 4th edition of the Basketball African League is being hosted there, and apart from that, there have been a steady rise of basketball.
This is the first time we're having the basketball, and all of the finals have been in Kigali.
Yeah.
But
and I think that's why the awareness, of course, is there. And the fans are looking much, very much optimistic and seeing what, of course, is coming up at this point in time. The fans really want to see government basketball association down there. They've done a lot of work to make sure that basketball, actually gets very huge momentum. So unfortunate that APR, of course, couldn't make it now down to the city stage for the competition. If not, we would have seen more crowd. We would have seen more fans, coming down to the BK Arena at this point. So I think for me, a lot of work has been done in making sure that basketball get to the final, and they actually lost some couple of games, but they were able to make their way down to the second stage for the competition. So for me, it was really an impressive game, just about 2-point difference in that game. So it was a very, very cagey encounter, 70-67 in that particular encounter in favor of US Monastir. We hope they continue to put up another impressive performance going forward in the competition.
Impressive performance going forward in the competition, and now River Supers, Nigeria's representative of the competition, is in action as well for their own position. They are into the 3rd and the 4th place fixture. Can River Supers end up as meanwhile, what's the upstage of the latest report from Kigali about their match against AS Douanes of Dakar, Senegal?
It's really getting interesting. It's a very cagey encounter down there. Right now they're in the 4th quarter, and the total point down there is 61-55. River Supers, of course, they didn't start the game very well. In the 1st quarter, it ended 22-9 in favor of AS Douanes. 2nd quarter ended 15-14, still in favor of AS Douanes, and it ended 67 at this point in time. So it is AS Douanes 61 total point at the moment. River Supers 57 points. So maybe there might be a magic, looking at the fact that the game is in the 4th quarter now and might soon come to an end from what we're seeing at this point in time. We just hope that the Kingsmen, talking about River Supers, put up some surprises, because I think they're actually getting closer at this point in time, to actually make sure, maybe see if they can get this one done and dusted. But for me, I think they left it late. They would have started maybe in the 1st quarter to start, churning the points. Imagine 22-9 in the 1st quarter was an abysmal performance, from them. 15-14 in the 2nd, and then 13-5 in the 3rd quarter was another abysmal performance.
Means that their 1st and the 3rd quarters were really, really bad, but we just hope that they can make up in the 4th quarter and at least come in the 3rd place position if they win the AS Douanes. Them in the 1st game and they lost in the 2nd.
But at this, with the level they are playing at this point, I think they should be very offensive. They've not been that very offensive. We've not seen the boys, Kevin Amayo, Divine Ike, turning at the point. They've not been that very offensive, and that's the reason why they are slacking in this particular encounter. The next encounter, if they don't get this one, the next game, they should be very much aggressive when it has to do with the offense, and as well being able to tighten up the defense, because we've seen some loopholes down there. The boys not really getting the 3-pointers, currently, the rebounds and the rest. But we hope that in the next encounter they should be very much aggressive when it has to do with being much offensive.
Well, for those who don't follow basketball, this is seeding game. Just for those you know the position which you will contest the quarterfinal. All 8 teams have qualified for the quarterfinal, but first they have to play what is called the seeding game to know which team will come, which will be the first seed, second seed, third seed, up till the 8th seed. And Rivers Hoopers are right now fighting, to qualify for the 3rd seed or the 4th seed as well in that order. After that, they will now go into the quarterfinals, knockout stage proper, and that is when, if you lose, then you will be out of the competition. But for now, you could lose, but yet maybe take a position which you do not desire. But that's what it is for now. We hope that Rivers Hoopers will find a way.
Greenwoods with the goal. Goalkeeper's missed it. Fight for him, but he does a right hand, and down goes the ball. So now this is when they're at their best. And when they're 12 years for this, so drink it in. Do I need love to be immortality as an athlete? 19.79. It's a goal, it's 8th goal.
I don't get a lot. Boy, they won't booga me small. They say, man, give them bribe. I say, nothing. Okay, now, we'll go block later. You remember that? They don't pay.
But first, you see the house rent with the old things. We go first call caretaker, take the money, slap him.
Beg, see, say I get annual levy while they pay for club. Where me?
Now, we don't they beg caretaker, why would they beg landlord, old man, and they agree give us time. Money can't come now, you won't divert time. You say.
And with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Corruption not in my country.
What do you want to buy?
Potato. Small basket. I want plantain. But why your plantain can't hard like this?
Now the outside hard, inside there it is very soft.
Madam, wallahi make her no buy them. Make her show you something. What? What's in this one? Madam, this one now the chemical what they put on for the plantain make her ripe up.
So you put chemical for plantain where people go chop. No water, no be chemical. Water.
You know say Pela I don't talk and say water and not be enemy. Drink am.
Where I collect that water, drink am. I just stop finish. See my belly. After it don't big. I just stop drink water finish. I don't drink am.
Wait, drink am now. At the sell plantain I go come put am for chemical because I want to make a ripe go. That one I talk now corruption. Corruption. Not be for this kaswa, come not be for this country. Now me take am.
Corruption not in my country.
This message is brought to you by the Akinfade Foundation, the Marketer Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
Greenwoods with the goal. Goalkeeper's missed it. Fight for him, but he does a right hand, and down goes the ball straight away. That's man. The keeper below.
Welcome back. Weekend Sports Extraordinary here on Atlantic Television Network, and I'm very sure that you'll be here. And attention right now is on the fixture between Rafael Nadal and Alexander. A lot of people have talked about Rafael Nadal, man who has of him in the practice section. He's looking very fit, and he thinks that his body can allow him.
Maybe he's started getting more better, and that's why he feels he can play for a longer time. From what we're seeing,
he's 38 years of age. He's undergone hip surgery, several surgeries on this, and one would have thought that he will respect his body, but if he's fit, why not?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Maybe he's getting much better, and that's why he's maybe.
He's not had a lot of games under his belt the last 2 years.
Yeah, due to the injuries. The injuries have really been a very huge setback, to his career. Just like we talked about, I think that was on Friday. He's currently ranked 276.
Yeah.
Very, very low, for a player like Rafa Nadal, who was actually world #1, in the ATP. And from what we've seen at this point in time, I think for me, if he feels that his body, of course, can naturally take him that long, I think for me, he should continue. Yes, we know that age, not really by his side, 38 years of age at this point. And I think for me, if you think, the body can still carry him for a very long time, he should be on the court. I think his fans will really want to see him play. And as well, for the fact that he also wants to maybe achieve more for himself. Right about now, he's on 22 Grand Slam. And Djokovic already is ahead of him with about 24 Grand Slam at the moment. Can he compete? This is the French Open, which he has won 14 times. It's a familiar ground for him. And due to the fact that, he's actually been lowly ranked, he's been paired with Alexander Zverev, which is a very tough one for him in the first round of the competition. But let's just say it is. We've seen him in the training ground looking very fit and looking very energetic. Can he beat Alexander Zverev? For me, I think he has what it takes. We understand that Zverev has been consistent, a little bit of form from him, but for that of Nadal, he has not been consistent. Maybe experience, of course, might be, of course, a very huge advantage for him going to this one.
Injury prone, and this I must say in the last 2 years he's played just about 11 games this year, and I'm not too sure that is good enough if you know the way the guy plays. He relies more on power play on the courts, but he has his body. He's saying that it may just not be his last season, against the popular opinion that this will be his last season at the Grand Slam. So we want to see more of Rafael Nadal. After all, he is the most winner at the French Open, 14 times. No other tennis player has won 14 times at the French Open. Well, enough of tennis now. Let's go to football and talk about football. This weekend has been a very busy weekend. There has been a lot of classification games. Teams know where they will play now, aftermath of the cup final, and of course teams that will be relegated as well. This weekend is a busy one, especially on the continent of Africa, because return leg fixture in the CAF Cup Champions League final is taking place this weekend. It is over 100,000 fans inside the Cairo International Stadium, where Ahly is up against Esperance of Tunis. And in England, the FA Cup took center stage this winter in Inugua. Kingsley, from the latest report from the CSS team in Inugua, it is Edo Queens with 9 points, and Rivers Angels 8 points, Bayelsa 8 points. One more game to go to determine which team is the best female team for the year 2023-2024. Edo Queens is in it, Bayelsa is in it, Rivers in it. Rivers, for them to win, they must, for them to be crowned champions this season, they must beat Hala Queens in their last game by more than 2 goals. And I hope that the encounter between Bayelsa Queens and Edo Queens is favorable to them. That is meaning that the Bayelsa Queens maybe just take advantage of home to peep Edo Queens that is presently leading at Yenigua.
Yeah, it's a very dicey one in the moment. Just like you mentioned, tomorrow Edo Queens will be national against Bayelsa Queens and Rivers Angels against Heartland Queens. I take a look at the way it is now. Rivers Angels will have to win Heartland at least by 2 goals or more to be able to stand on a very good ground, in lifting the title. Because if Bayelsa Queens, of course, beats Edo Queens, and with more goal margin, it will give them that more advantage, in lifting this one. So I think the one side have to pray for the other side, to favor them, and especially for Rivers Angels if they want to win this one at this point in time. Rivers Edo Queens are fourth with 9 points, like you mentioned. Rivers Angels are 8, and Bayelsa Queens are 4th at this point in time. Edo Queens have a better goal difference in this one, have a goal difference, of 10. Rivers Angels have a goal difference of 5, and the Bayelsa Queens have a goal difference of 4. So Rivers Angels really have to score more goals against Heartland Queens if wants the result, of course, to favor them, because if Bayelsa Queens wins Edo Queens, that will be a problem for them. So they have to, if they're winning Heartland Queens tomorrow, they have to score maybe like 3 goals to make sure that at least they have a better goal difference. It's actually it's going to be a very dicey one, and we look forward to see which side, of course, are more favored at this point. They've actually won 2. They've drawn 2 in this particular Super 6. They've not lost any at this point in time. They've not been that very fantastic, in my own view, for what I've seen from them. I think they really have to step up their game to make sure they defeat Heartland. Heartland, they've not been fantastic, so I'm not seeing Heartland, of course, giving them that much, trouble. Heartland are seated 6th, on the table at this point in time, with about just 2 points. Heartland, they've been so abysmal. So I think Rivers Angels should be able to beat Heartland and beat them very well, maybe like 3 or 4 goals, to stand a very good chance of lifting the title this time.
Well, we wish them the best of luck. Talk about Rivers Angels. They need to emerge as champions and continue in the tradition of being the top side in Premier Football, female football here in Nigeria. We'll keep an eye on that and see how it pans out in the next couple of hours as well. Now, let's go to the big and the 2-1, meaning that Manchester United are FA Cup winners in England and this year, and it means they will be in Europe as well, playing in the Europa Cup.
Impressive victory for Manchester United after having an abysmal season. In fact, one of their worst season.
Actually, in the history of the Premier League, this is their worst season. They turned out to be number 8 at the end of 38 games played at the Premiership.
Which is, of course, a very bad record, for a team like Manchester United. But thank God they've been able to redeem themselves by defeating Manchester City in the FA Cup, to beat them. Of course, thanks to most of the players that came back from injury, the likes of Sofian Arabat, Mason Mount,
Fernandes
as well, coming back. They were very, very fantastic, of course, on the day, and that's what, of course, gave them that victory. For Manchester City, they played a very beautiful football in the first half, but we saw a defensive error, which actually cost the first goal, and another defensive error, if you ask me as well, which we saw that second goal, which came from Kobe Mino as well. City played.
Do you think this error is as a result of partying aftermath of winning the league? They winning the league 4 consecutive times. They had a long day off, or we saw videos of them enjoying themselves. You think that it was to the detriment of the FA Cup? Last year they beat the same Manchester United,
yes,
and winning the Premier League and winning the FA Cup. This time around, they were able to just sleep at the last moment.
I think City were too confident. They were too confident on the day, and that's why they didn't capitalize on that one. But we saw United, utilize the chances they got, and that was why they were able to go through in this particular. Maybe they actually over-rejoiced, and maybe coming to this one, they felt it's Manchester United who has gotten an abysmal performance this season, and they thought it was going to be very rosy for them. So United were able to sit back and then come on the counter and utilize their chances, and now got this particular one. So for me, huge one for Manchester United, putting up at Manchester United. Prior to this particular one, everyone was saying that he might be relieved of his job if he doesn't get this one, but we'll wait to hear what.
Talking about Eric Ten Hag, the coach of Manchester United, to be relieved of his job. He doesn't have any assurance from the owners of the club side that he will keep his job after this game that was played, the FA Cup final. Everybody seemed to be saying that he was going to lose his job. Yes, like you mentioned, he's been on the job for 2 years now. He's been to 2 cup finals. Cup finals, he's won 2. But a lot of Manchester United fans are not feeling good. But he is saying, especially at the press briefing after this match today, he's of the opinion that Manchester United have not played badly, but the result they've gotten has to do with the fact that most of their first team players were on the injury list, and even with
what happened to Chelsea? Chelsea had about 14 of their players being injured. Both of the players as well were first team players, but they were able to finish 6th in the Premier League after 38 match days. So why is everything coming with the fact that most of his players were injured? So you're a manager. You should be able to know how to utilize your squad, galvanize your squad, and be able to produce results. So for me, I don't think that's a tangible excuse, for Eric Ten Hag. He's been in the team for 2 years now. Yes, he's been to 3 cups for United. No matter the injury worries, United should have probably done better than what they've done, this season.
Well, coaches have their hands in their hands, their mouth in their hands, so to say, because they live and die of his job, in spite of the fact that he was able to take them back to the second place position at the end of the season. With a match to go, he has now been relieved of his job, and his position taken clearly by another German tactician.
Yeah, Hansi Flick. And for me, I think it's a sad one for Xavi. Earlier this year, in February, he came up to say that he's going to leave the team.
But the owners of the clubs persuaded him to stay back, and he did agree to stay.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, for what he's been termed as talking about the financial status of Barcelona, he's now been given the axe. So Xavi is no longer the coach of Barcelona, and now we have Hans Flick, the former coach of Bayern Munich, returning as the getting the job as the coach of Barcelona for next season. And talking about Bayern Munich, and it reminds me that they too, their coach is leaving. Tuchel has left already, and they now have a new coach. And wait for it, a relatively young coach, Vincent Kompany, former coach of Burnley, that just got relegated, is now the new coach of
Bayern Munich.
Bayern Munich. It's the way coaches are moving now is really like lightning. Only this weekend we've seen 3 coaches being fired and 3 more employed.
I'm telling you, very, very surprising. I never really saw that coming, that Bayern Munich would go for
a very young coach.
Yes, Vincent Kompany. I don't really know. He actually brought Burnley from relegation and took them back, to relegation. Yes, we understand Burnley played beautiful football. When you take a look at the way they play, despite the fact that
maybe it has to do with the fact that yes, he's a brilliant coach, and you don't compare the compliments of players in Burnley to that that will be that is in the Bayern Munich. So it is believed that maybe he has the quality to maybe manage this top side, and why not? He's given opportunity. If you look at it, the same way Pep Guardiola was given opportunity, in Barcelona and even Bayern Munich, and now Manchester City, and he's turned out to be a very top coach around the world. And it's not only Vincent Kompany that is getting the job. This weekend as well, we saw, Wayne Rooney, being given a side in the championship in England. So it looks like the young coaches are now being given opportunity to make a very loud statement.
Yes, it's actually good, especially for Kompany at this point. When you take a look at his Burnley team, they play beautiful football. Even at the fact that, of course, they do not get the needed results at the end of the day. You take a look at the way they played very good football. Almost what you see with Manchester City from Pep Guardiola. So for me, I think if Vincent Kompany at Burnley, if the owners of the team had maybe giving him enough money maybe to get those quality players, maybe he would have done better than what we saw. So for me, I think he has what it takes, and that's why Bayern Munich are going for him at this point in time. But for me, I see it to be a little bit of a huge tax for him. Bayern is a very big team, and they have a lot of expectation. Harry Kane has been there. He went down. This is his 4th season, and still finished trophyless. He's been looking for a trophy, and I think this Vincent Kompany is coming. Maybe he has what it is, of course, to be able to put the Bayern team together and maybe winning the Bundesliga once again this time, and probably the UEFA Champions League.
Coaches being asked here and there. We've told you how 3 coaches have been sacked this weekend, and 3 more replacing them as well. Manchester United, we told you as well, as emerged as FA Cup winners. What does it mean for Manchester United to win the FA Cup? Yes, it's common knowledge that they will be playing in the Europa League, but Chelsea fans are not very happy because that win ensured that they completed the season in a position where they will no longer be going to the Europa League. They will now be playing in the Conference League, which is a lower cadre in Europe.
Yes, for me, it's so sad. So sad for Chelsea Football Club after what we saw Pochettino did, trying to help them, of course, get their European spots. But Manchester City, which everyone thought was going to dismantle Manchester United, they fell short. And now Chelsea, of course, will be playing in the Conference League. Not a bad one, looking at how poor and how the season has been so abysmal for Chelsea. But Pochettino did his best. despite the fact that he was relieved, over his job. But it's a good thing that after spending over £1 billion, at least they're able to secure a UEFA Europa Conference League spots.
Well, I will just hope that the Chelsea fans will at least accept this one and take it. They have been so agitated and very unhappy that City did not win Manchester United. You have to take your destiny into your hands. You don't leave it in someone else's or just a most book form out there. What a weekend has been here in the world of sports. We told you how it's rolled around from tennis, to basketball. Just talking about basketball, Kingsley, before we wrap up the show, the NBA is into the finals and game of 7, best of 7, but we've seen Dallas Mavericks showing class